Everybody understands cacao as chocolate. It's about the bean, but we are missing that cacao is a tropical fruit. To get the bean, you really threw the magic of the tropical fruit to the garbage. With all of those unique and magical flavors, it was a big waste. And because I'm in the Philippines and I'm close to the farm, now I have the possibility that dream as a chef to show the cacao as a fruit, now it's happening in the restaurant. Just landed in Davao, meeting with Rob, my cacao chocolate producer for many years now, going to the farms and to the processing factory to keep learning and developing more ideas for the cacao syrup and cacao mucilage that can be applied in many ways in the cuisine. Depends of the color, there are different varieties. And when you mix together to make the chocolate, it really doesn't matter. But as a tropical fruit, when we want to see, if we open now and we taste it, that, it will have a different, taste profile.
Yes, that's right, because everything is done for the chocolate industry, and the chocolate industries mix everything together. But when you actually taste the fruit, it tastes very completely different from each other. One has more sour notes. So I think it has yet to be discovered.
We have harvest some that they are mature and ripe, different colors that we're going to try to identify if each variety of pod, it really have a different tasty profile. This looks very juicy actually. Well, it's just a fruit like with the seed.
Yeah, exactly. How does it taste?
I would say you can notice more lychee flavors, no?
Yeah.
But those two, the green one and the red one, are different varieties, no?
This one,
as you can see, it's also dry.
Drier,
the mucilage and the pulp is completely also
different, no? This one?
One is much more translucent, the other one is much more white. This one is more plain, more sweet, where this one is more complexity, always sourness is in here.
Yeah.
For me, this one is much more interesting as a chef, much more complexity. Missing the cacao as a tropical fruit with all of those unique and magical flavors, it was a big waste. But it's not only a waste in the sense that, we cannot express that to the world. Most of the mucilage, all of this juice is thrown to the garbage. This is the wet beans. This is the first step to do cacao. This is still like when we open the pot and we try it. Still is very, very aromatic. In here, what is happening is the dropping of the mucilage or cacao juice is dropping it there. As you can see here, this is all wasted. So this is going to the soil. Well, this, for me, one of the most important or the most beautiful parts of the cacao is just throw it to the garbage. This is what we change when we do the cacao juice and cacao syrup. The mucilage and the juice and the pulp is the same. We call it mucilage because the texture and composition, but also because it's full of yeast. That's why the cacao ferments so fast.
After they collect the wet beans or they pot break, the wet beans are placed in this fermentation box. What they do is they ferment it for a total of about 5 or 6 days. So the first few days, essentially what it needs to ferment, just like any fermentation, is sugar. So the mucilage
and the yeast
that's around the bean is what's needed and what's food for the fermentation bacteria. And then the temperature will start to rise. So it starts from the sugar, is converted to alcohol. Then after a while, sometimes they would open it up, turn the beans to allow oxygen to come in. That chemical process during fermentation is what actually creates the chocolate flavor, because it's allowing those, what they call the chocolate precursors or flavor profiles, to be released when it's broken down during fermentation. So it's a very important step in chocolate making to get better quality chocolate.
And this can go to 40 and 50 degrees.
Yeah, it gets very hot. When it hits about 50 degrees, then the bacteria starts to, it basically dies, so the temperature eventually goes down. The beans are dried here for about 5-6 days.
And the next process is to roast it.
Yeah, after drying, when it's dried like this, you can actually break it with your fingers. That means it's dried enough. It's normally about 7-8% moisture. The next step is to roast it, and then it already has a chocolate flavor. When it's roasted, then you basically take the shell out, and what's inside the shell is what you call your cacao nibs. Yeah.
In my case, this is the second part of the bioproduct that we are using. The cascaras or the peel is not used for cacao, but because it has been roasted and fermented, it has the same exactly flavors as the cacao. In the restaurant, what we are using yet is to do infusions like this, and from that we can do a kombucha and we can do a vinegar. With these facilities close to the farm, we do everything there. We pasteurize the cacao juice.
What we have right now, we have already our mucilage. So before we process it to cacao juice, we need to check the pH first. Our pH should be at 4 to 4.5. So what we have right now is 4.3. We can process this to cacao juice.
And the next step, we will heat it until we are looking for a specific bricks.
So our syrup should have 60 to 66 degree bricks. Juice is at 13 to 16 degree bricks.
This one is the juice, the pasteurized one. We are going to taste it. With this minimal cooking, what we have is all of the notes of the cacao. We still have the sweetness, the sourness, the lychee, and other, tropical fruit flavors. And that is what I can use as a chef in the restaurant. So this is a much more easy, faster, and sustainable way, to work with the cacao juice. Aside of a chocolate and cacao producer, Rob started a new adventure doing coconut sugar. Rob, who had the idea of, since I have the facilities to do coconut sugar, what happens if we try to do a cacao sugar? The idea is to get 100% cacao bar, utilizing the sugar of the cacao. So we get the syrup, and through spray drying, we have been able to get the first batch of cacao sugar. Finally, we have been able to get 100% of chocolate bar. We are in the middle of a creativity process. At this moment, we have created different dishes. Some of them just using cacao juice, some of them using the cascaras or the shell that is normally thrown to the garbage, and sometimes using this 100% of chocolate. So from there, we are going to diverse, and we are going to work from savory dishes to desserts. In the Philippines, is one of my favorite dishes, that is a ceviche called kinilaw, normally used with coconut milk. In this case, we are going to substitute the coconut milk for the cacao juice, mucilage. We are going to dress it with calamansi and the local lime called dayap. We are going to use also an endemic glutinous corn. We also use the cacao nibs and we pickle. And we're going to create, this beautiful starter. And we also use the cacao that normally is thrown to the garbage, the pod, as a plate. We have been able to do a savory dish. So we use a local duck. We smoke with the cascaras, with the shell. We also do with that shell or cascaras a vinegar. And we do an adobo with beetroot and utilizing the cacao vinegar. And then there are other components, but it's very important that also this 100% of chocolate we use in a mole. We use the cacao syrup and juice together with a demi-glace of the duck to really give some notes, some aromas of the syrup and this cacao fruit. So it's a beautiful dish all together. Of course, we need to also use cacao in the dessert. Second, number one is we do a sorbet with the cacao juice. With this, we do a cacao shell. It looks exactly like the cacao pod, but it's a merengue of cacao. And then we put it together, and this is the first bite. Something crunchy, refreshing, with cacao nibs to give some kind of texture. It's really the highlight of a tropical fruit. This is served with a cacao champagne. So we do kefir water to ferment the cacao juice and become so fizzy that it looks like a champagne. The second sequence, we will go a more traditional approach, but with this 100% of chocolate, we do different textures, different layers. And the idea of this is paired with a kombucha that have a little bit of sour notes. So for me, this is our whole journey of the cacao as a fruit and a chocolate served in one dish.